Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge YouTube channel and to highlights of the Champ de Prix 2021. Quickstep and Sam Bennett, the big favourites for the race, which starts in the Netherlands, 194 kilometres long, then goes south into Belgium, going past Antwerp before 3 laps of the finish at Aanschoten. No nasty hills or threatening cobbled sections like in the Tour of Flanders. It was really the crosswind that was the main danger early in the race in the northern part before live images started, and that's where large splits happened. Quickstep and Bora Hansgrohe are getting their contenders into the front group with 78 k's remaining. Sam Bennett on the front. He's in this group with just Michael Mørkøv for Quickstep. So 2 Quicksteppers and 4 Bora Hansgrohe riders, Burkhardt, Schwarzman, Ackermann and Niels Pollitt. The only other quick men of note were Van Poppel, Giacomo Nizzolo, who had Max Walscheid also in the group, and of course Jasper Philipsen on the front with the clear lenses, his teammate Jonas Rickard on his left. Behind, 25 seconds behind, was Group 2, with Quickstep having another 3 riders in that group, Van Leeuwenberghe, Mark Cavendish and Florian Sénéchal. They were chasing down Group 1 to even up the numbers against Bora Hansgrohe, because the only other quick man in this Group 2 was Cees Bol. Tim Merlier and Alexander Kristoff had crashed out of Group 2 and they were back in Group 3, far behind. So Quickstep was sitting on in Group 1. Bora eventually just accepted that Group 2 was going to catch them. They were 15 seconds behind at this point. Alpecin also had Dries de Bont in this Group 2 who was able to sit on, as well as Rickard and Philipsen being able to sit on largely in Group 1. So eventually Van Leeuwenberghe, Cavendish and Sénéchal were able to close the gap between those 2 groups, go straight to the front, operation get Mark Cavendish a win, back in full force. Group 2, formerly Group 3, was mainly being led by Cofidis. They were 2 minutes behind with 70 k's to go, and honestly I can skip forward a lot in this race. First time they saw the finish line, 50 k's to go, gap 2:20. Burkhardt and Sénéchal pacing. 34 k's to go, gap 2 minutes. 17 k's to go, gap 1 minute 40, and it was just Burkhardt and Sénéchal pacing this entire time. Sénéchal they kept on the front. Quickstep with 11 k's to go. They still had 4 other riders being kept fresh behind, so they still had, I think, a numerical advantage as compared to Bora Hansgrohe. The question was, were they going to ride for Mark Cavendish or Sam Bennett in the sprint, given that Mark Cavendish seemed to be planted right on Sam Bennett's wheel with 6 k's to go. But comment down below, do you think Mark Cavendish is going to be able to take a pro win this season? And eventually attacks did start to come from this group, from Beat Cycling. They overperform as a Conti team, but they're being marked by Van Leeuwenberghe on the left-hand side. And one would have thought with Sénéchal being used up pacing all day, Van Leeuwenberghe would be the 1 kilometre man for Quickstep in their train to pull then. But he's having to close down moves then, and he doesn't want to pull. You see he's on the front looking behind with 1900 metres to go. He doesn't want to be there, but then he has to react to another move from Lotto Soudal. Meanwhile, Alpecin have Rickard and Dries de Bont to lead out for Jasper Philipsen. They're right at the back of this group, not having to do any work or accelerate the same way Mørkøv and Van Leeuwenberghe have to. With 1400 metres to go, Van Leeuwenberghe is already on the front, pretty much doing his lead out, and that means Quickstep, if they're not going to use Cavendish as a lead out man, only have Mørkøv to lead out Bennett and or Cavendish, and you see that here. Van Leeuwenberghe is pretty much done on the left-hand side with 900 metres to go, and As You Deserve Citroën are able to move up on the right-hand side with De Wolf. Alpecin are waiting, biding their time at the back of this group. Bora are getting pinched, trying to follow As You Deserve Citroën. Mørkøv already is on the front, getting no draft, having to work. He just accelerated there with 850 metres to go. He doesn't get much respite in the next 400 metres either. And this is the man that's supposed to be depositing Sam Bennett with 200 metres to go. And he realises that with 550 metres left, he's left on the front, and he looks around and he tries to pull off and hope that someone else comes in front of him. But that action moving over to the left now and not starting his full lead out means the pace goes out of this group, and Alpecin Phoenix from the back with Dries de Bont, it opens up perfectly for them in the Belgian national champs jersey. The Cavendish group had brought him with them when they closed the gap. He leads out. Rickard starts his kick with 375 metres to go. Boxing in Sam Bennett and Mark Cavendish, unleashing Jasper Philipsen with 175 metres to go, and that was too late for Sam Bennett. Mark Cavendish coming third, Sam Bennett not able to come round Jasper Philipsen at the end, and a massive heist for Alpecin Phoenix, only with 3 riders in the group. One would think, how could that happen with Quickstep having 5 riders in this group? What went wrong? And it's right here. This is the race right here. Mørkøv with 500 metres, 550 metres to go, has been left on the front as a sitting duck by Quick-Step. Mark Cavendish, who's sitting on Bennett's wheel, theoretically playing sweeper on his wheel, if he was in front of Murku and was able to just keep the pace high for 150 to 200 metres, which he should have been able to do, I mean, his sprint was really good, he still came third in this sprint. If he did that, Sam Bennett wins the Shell de Prache. But the pace goes out of the group, cross tailwind finish according to Sam Bennett. So with Alpecin coming with speed like this, they had a massive advantage, and already Bennett realises problems are about to happen. Murku's tired, he's been on the front since 850 metres plus. Jonas Ricard is fresh, starting his hard lead out with about 375 metres to go, and watch where he moves. He's going to move over to the left hand side. Sam Bennett knows what's about to happen. He starts to try and get out of Murku's wheel to prevent it happening, but it's too late. Ricard comes over to the left, boxes in Bennett with Philipsen on Bennett's right-hand side. Cavendish tries to take the wheel of Philipsen. He's just kind of getting in the way. Absolute perfection by Alpecin Phoenix, stealing a march on the Quick-Step train. When the pace came out of the lead-out, they hit it really hard. Ricard boxed in Bennett perfectly, and Philipsen was able to finish it off despite their quick man, Merlier, crashing earlier in the race. Before you comment, Quick-Step using Mark Cavendish as a sweeper on Bennett's wheel, it makes perfect sense. Well, their best lead out, the best lead out in World Tour so far this season was in Paris-Nice, I think stage 5, when Quick-Step had Lampard, Seneschal, Murku in front of Bennett. That was also a tailwind finish. They knew the importance of keeping the pace high. Notice they don't have anyone on Sam Bennett's wheel. I don't remember them ever placing anyone on Sam Bennett's wheel to help him get a victory so far this year. They also had Seneschal's second wheel in that sprint. They had to use him up today, pacing all day in the Shell de Prache. He drops Murku off fresh with about 500 metres to go, and he stops Bennett getting boxed in by McLeod and Buani, drops him off with 175 metres to go, and that's just good night. Bennett's been the best in the world so far this year. Conversely, in the UAE Tour, Quick-Step don't always have a full train. They have Murku surf wheels with Bennett on his wheel, follow the Bora train or Nizzolo. They don't try and take control of the sprint, which is what made today so confusing to me. You see in the UAE Tour, they just keep Murku fresh. He punches through with about 250, 300 metres and drops Bennett off once again. And that was see you later, despite David Decker and Viviani looking good. Whereas in the Shell de Prache today, they had Murku sitting on the front from 850 metres to go. I know he was trying to get off the front here, but it was too late at that point. And because they tried to treat this race like your kids' under-8 swimming carnival participation race where everyone gets a ribbon, they basically had Murku leading out 2 sprinters, and Bennett needed Cavendish to lead him out if they wanted any chance of winning, and Alpecin Phoenix took advantage of that with Jasper Philipsen, already a Grand Tour stage winner on UAE, taking his first win for the team. But it's not just Quick-Step who'll be disappointed with the outcome of the Shell de Prache. At least they got 2 riders on the podium. Bora Hansgrohe, who have worked all day with Pollitt and Burkhardt, they completely messed up the lead out, getting pinched on the right hand side here, and then Ackermann wasn't able to serve the wheels very well, not even coming in the top 5, and you can see Schwarzmann's frustration behind. It's been a really tough season for Ackermann and their lead out. Kind of feel bad for them at the moment. But that's all from me. Like the video down below if you liked it, and I'll see you with the Amstel Gold men and women's highlights on the weekend. Ciao!